Hey, what's going on guys, aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2018 mod career mode here, driving as Fernando Alonso in his McLaren Renault, round number 6, the Monaco Grand Prix. But if you did miss last week's episode at the Spanish Grand Prix, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A really cracking load of action in that episode, and also a big thank you to you guys for the support in that episode. You guys smashed out of the park with the likes and also the comments, so thank you guys so much for that. And before we get into things, be sure to hit that notification bell, guys, on my channel if you do not ever want to miss a video in the future, especially this series. Every single weekend an episode should go up. But yeah, Monaco is going to be a tough one for us, I think. Obviously, in general, Monaco is, Monaco. It's a very tough place to pass, and qualifying is very crucial. So let's go ahead and look at the starting grid, something which is going to be very important for the entire race as a whole. But you guys know me, we'll try our best. But I think the car performances are probably just going to be a bit too much for us today to try and drag up the car like we did at Spain. But let's see how the grid order lines up first before we get into the race. The starting grid for the 2018 Monaco Grand Prix sees a familiar face on pole position, and that goes to one Lewis Hamilton in his Mercedes car. In real life, he may not be able to get the job done within this career mode series. He's been rather consistent, his 5th time on pole, but alongside him is not a man in red, it's actually the man in blue, Daniel Ricciardo, in the first of the Red Bull cars on the front row. The second row is the exact same as it was actually in round number 5 at the Spanish Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel there in 3rd, Valtteri Bottas in 4th, and you have to look all the way to 5th place to see the second Red Bull of Max Verstappen. So Ricciardo, after winning last race at the Spanish Grand Prix, taking that confidence to get that front row, unlike his teammate there with Kimi Räikkönen in 6th place. Then comes us, driving as Fernando Alonso in 7th place. Best of the rest, really, ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, who's been still very uber consistent, and again lines up on that 4th row of the grid. And the 5th and final row in the top 10 is Romain Grosjean in 9th place and Kevin Magnussen in 10th. All Haas showing there today, doing a good job to be ahead of Pierre Gasly and the Toro Rosso as well of Brendan Hartley in 11th and 12th. So kind of all like Noah's Ark at the moment there with Gasly and Brendan Hartley. And then you have to look all the way to 13th place, Stoffel Van Dorn, to find my teammate in 13th place. So clearly Van Dorn not up to scratch around Monaco, and once again Carlos Sainz lagging behind his teammate Nico Hülkenberg. The next row again is all Force India. These guys really no man's land, in real life almost, and also in this career mode series with the mod performances. And so Sergio Perez and Ocon will just be looking to once again try and take the fight to the midfield scrap. And then the next row, Charles Leclerc and Marcus Ericsson. This time though, Marcus Ericsson does pull it through in qualifying and does not get out qualified by the Russian, who takes up his familiar slot of P19 there alongside his teammate Lance Stroll for the final place on the grid. P7 at Monaco is not too bad. It does mean we're a little bit in kind of maybe the bomb zone as we go towards lap 1. We might be attacked from behind as well as we look ahead to us, but we'll see how we go. The strategy, obviously, as you can imagine, is going to be a pretty simple one-stop for us today, at least. I mean, the higher tyre wear from the mod might make things tricky, but I think it still will end up being a one-stop. Maybe one of the top 3 teams might try a 2. We've seen that definitely in the past in career modes. Before we get into it, though, guys, unfortunately, I have to say, just like round 2 at the Bahrain Grand Prix, the game crashed on me just as the race ended, so I do not have any replay cameras recorded for this one, so we'll miss out on any AI battles, but it's something that I can't really do much about, so bit of rotten luck. But let's get into it then as we go towards 5 red lights for round number 6 of this 2018 season at the Monaco Grand Prix. Lights are out and we're underway. It's a good start for us compared to Max Verstappen. He's really bogged down as we go into turn 1. Vettel side by side with his former teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Those two come towards a little bit. We're still side by side with Max. We haven't got the job done quite yet. He's still got his nose in there, and the red proximity arrow is there, but we've jumped Kimi Räikkönen. It looks like, I think Räikkönen has had an issue into turn 1 as those yellow flags there, as now up ahead Bottas chases Ricciardo and Vettel as we're still trying to battle with Max, and he's done well to get ahead of us and re-overtake us, but we send it back down the inside, lock up on the right tire. We're going to get our nose in there, and we're still hammering tongue. Bit of contact made into the hairpin. Verstappen is going to go really wide, and he's going to nearly force us into the barriers. Cheeky stuff there from Max Verstappen, and almost a little bit rude from the Dutchman as he almost completely squeezed us into the wall, and we have to brake check ourselves essentially and kind of give up the place to Nico Hülkenberg, who, to be fair to him, was very opportunistic actually, and very nicely sent it down the inside of the hairpin to get up into what will be P6. And so we're down to P7, back to our grid slot now as we move on to lap 3, chasing after Nico. Nothing has changed so far, but now we're closing up, and he's going a little bit defensive into our next flat out left hand as we go towards the swimming pool section, getting uber close to him, and maybe now trying to think about a move. Don't quite have the momentum to try anything as a Rascas quite yet, so I have to just wait for maybe the DRS. We go through the final corner for the first time in this race. DRS will be open, although we do lose the back end in that last corner, unfortunately. But you can see we have some decent straight line speed compared to Nico, so maybe he might have got a little bit less downforce on the setup compared to him. As we run up the hill, good exit on the first turn. You can see we're gaining and gaining up the hill, but just wasn't quite enough to make a move there. So we move on now to lap 4. Same place as last time. We gain a little bit on Nico and have a little bit of a gander on the left-hand side there as we go into swimming pool, but just didn't have enough momentum. And this time, we did have enough speed to maybe try down the inside of Raskas if it wasn't for me losing the back end then as we moved on to that section. And through the last corner, a little bit of hesitation for me to turn into the apex there. So at the moment, don't have complete confidence in the car, but I think we do have good momentum. So it's just about finding the right room and hopefully stringing together a couple of corners and having the right kind of luck, essentially, to try and make this move. And we might actually have a chance here on Hulkenberg. Oh, not quite. Hulkenberg doing really well. Got to hand it to him. He's doing really well to place his car. That time, I tried to maybe look around the outside as we entered towards the casino section, but he just parked the car in the right place, just moved subtly to the right towards the barrier and just closed off that entry point there. So we now have to wait patiently up until towards lap 6 now to maybe make a pass. Monaco's all about the driver, really, and the commitment he can have around the circuit, and so we need to be committed and confident into these corners to try and get a good enough exit to actually have a run on Hulkenberg, because I think in a straight line, clearly, I have the pace on him. And so through that final corner, that time round, third time lucky, we're a lot better into that. And then out the first corner then, again getting a great run, even better than the last time here. And so now I might try once again on the outside as we go towards Casino on the long left hand. Do we finally have the room? We're just going to have to lick the stamp and send it, as Daniel Ricciardo would say. We've made it work down the inside. Little shimmy and shake on the exit. Looking behind in the mirrors a little bit with my eyes, and we've got the place done. A little bit wary that Hulkenberg could have tried to make it side by side like Verstappen did quite easily on lap 1. And so thankfully he hasn't, because we finally got that place and we're back up into P6. But now you can see, 6 laps later, after Hulkenberg got ahead of us, it's done a number on us in terms of damage to the gap to Verstappen, the top 3 guys. I mean, apart from Raikkonen, who obviously had issues on lap 1, the rest of them are pretty much gone and away. So I'm kind of afraid that may be it for, in terms of us maybe challenging the top. It's going to be about maybe keeping Hulkenberg at bay, who has some decent pace, and maybe trying something a little bit different on the strategy as we move on later into the Grand Prix. Lap 11 and the tyre starting to go off, 42%. You can really feel that on the rear end in traction zones. Behind me is then Nico Hulkenberg, Romain Grosjean, Pierre Gasly, then Kevin Magnussen in the second half, and then you've got Stoffel Van Dorn in P10. That's a little rundown I got actually with a bit of a snippet on the replay cameras mid-race, but unfortunately don't have an actual post replay camera to show you that. But that's the kind of running order of the top 10, and you can clearly see Raikkonen nowhere to be seen after issues at the beginning of this Grand Prix, and unfortunately I can't give you a replay of what happened. But what I think has happened is I think Kimi had contact with Verstappen potentially on his outside and maybe hit the wall on the exit of turn 1 probably. It's quite easy to do in any kind of circumstance, especially lap 1. But we have a virtual safety car then on lap 12 for some reason, and that kind of sparked my debate of coming into the pits right now, because although I've kind of extended the gap by a couple of seconds to Hulkenberg, I'm not really gaining at all on Verstappen as much as I wanted to. I thought, overtaking Hulkenberg would have essentially released me to go attack and catch Verstappen, but that's not the case. And so I'm coming on lap 12. Probably, it is definitely 3 or 4 laps earlier than you usually would come in here at Monaco if we're talking about the base game. But obviously this is the 2018 mod. There's a bit higher tyre wear, and my tyres were really not comfy at all. I wasn't feeling comfortable in the car, so I really wanted to come in. And I wasn't sure at this stage if any of the AI would be trying a 2-stop. I was really hoping they would, because I certainly would have been up for trying a 2-stop. But then as I came out, you can see a lot of people just still going on ultras, and you're about to see as we go on, they're going to be staying out for a couple of more laps. So in the end, it looks like I've just come in for a bit of an earlier stop, and just a kind of a bit of a bodge job of what is still going to be a 1-stop really. But definitely those ultras just weren't feeling great, and so I'm going to have to try and prolong this super soft stint, and also at the same time trying to get through some traffic. And so this is going to help me, to be honest. So in hindsight, I maybe should have just stuck it out and kind of took the pain for 1 or 2 more laps, because at the moment I'm going to have to try and get through this traffic and get through it immediately, as you can see down the inside then of Esteban Ocon. But even though we get that move done quite nicely, it's a very nice move, a little bit of lock up on the right front, but got it done. It's going to cost us time, just little bits adding up of cost time here, and it's not going to be great. And we go around the outside then, trying to dance around the outside of Leclerc. Doesn't work out. You can see he's definitely holding us up here. Charles is. Now we go down the inside. Obviously, it's his home Grand Prix technically, so fair play for him to putting up a fight, but we go down the inside eventually and get that move done. But, you know, we got even more cars to pass up ahead. It just wasn't great placement of our car out the pit lane, really. But it's just going to help out the top 5 drivers then, and it might kind of give them a better chance just to pull away from us. So I think that top 5, by the way, if you're wondering, is at the moment, I think Lewis Hamilton leading the Grand Prix, Ricciardo behind him in second place. Then you have Vettel not too far behind, with Bottas also right there, and then Verstappen trying to chase them down, because Verstappen did get caught up fighting us, so he has also got a bit of ground to cover. I've got even more ground to cover. I want to get up to them, but at the moment, actually, I'm more worried about if we're still going to stay ahead of Hulkenberg, to be honest, because we're losing so much time here as we now come through the Williams car there on the right, down the inside of Perez, as Perez locks up. It's all a bit hectic there. We're down the inside of the Mexican, and now we're going toe to toe with the Williams car. It's a lapped car there, but we still have to make the pass around his outside, and we're up into P13. But where on earth is Hulkenberg? Hulkenberg yet to come in, and it's lap 15. So just showing how early I came in compared to these guys. And like I said, I'm kind of starting to genuinely get worried if we're actually going to lose track position to Hulkenberg, which would be pretty much a disaster in terms of, you know, I gained about 3 seconds on him after I made the overtake. So if he was to get ahead of us now, due to all this traffic, that would pretty much be a facepalm moment in terms of we've completely got the strategy wrong, we've played it wrong. I mean, at the moment, we've played it a little bit wrong, but it could be even more wrong if we manage to lose that much time, because we're stuck now behind his teammate Carlos Sainz, who's stuck behind my teammate Stoffel Van Dorn here as we get into a bit of a train. Sainz goes a little bit defensive on the left. Can we try and make a move? We break a little bit early, try and switch it to the inside there, but just not enough room on the left as we go towards swimming pool, getting hit with a bit of dirty air and snaking around on track. But here we go, good exit into the left-hander, now down the inside. Now it's uber close, but there we go, ticking the box for that infamous Rascas pass down the inside there. That was really nice. It was almost like Sainz just saw us at the last minute, moved a little bit left to give us that tiny inch of space, and we kind of shifted at the same time to allow that pass to happen, and so we're up into P12, and now we'll chase down our teammate Stoffel Van Dorn, still on ultras. These guys still going on lap 16, so I pit 4 laps early. Oh god, although partly though, bit of a bad mistake there's the left hand, but that's a very awkward mistake to make. It looks like he kind of lost the rear end maybe, and maybe that's the higher tyre wear coming into play now for the AI, is Hartley's AI just can't keep the rear end under control, because it looked like maybe he hit his front end on the left hand side barrier there, but that slows up Van Dorn and himself quite a lot there, and I nearly almost slammed into the back of Van Dorn, but a little bit frustrating now as we're going a lot slower than I want to through this section, but I just don't have the exit speed to catch them up completely. We're in rich mix and we're burning away pretty much all our excess fuel at this point of the Grand Prix, so I won't have any at the end of this to maybe push, which will be unfortunate, but probably not necessary if the top 5 are completely away from us. Now it's Van Dorn's turn to go defensive now for P11. Can we try and swoop to the inside like we tried with Sainz this time, though? It's going to be successful. There we go. Van Dorn just gives up the place mid-corner there, and maybe just saw finally that it was his teammate, a more senior teammate there, trying to make the pass, and maybe got a little bit of a shout out on the radio there, because it was kind of odd. Van Dorn looked like he was going to put up the fight the entire chicane, really, that high-speed one. Before we entered the swimming pool section, but gave up in the last minute at the apex. So we're up the order now into lap 8, because you saw there that Hartley also pit and a few others. Hulkenberg, I think, is behind us, I think, at this point, so no worries there. But as we move on now towards lap 18, it's going to be Verstappen then making his pit stop, and he's onto super softs, and you can clearly see he's nowhere to be seen ahead of me, and on the mini-map also, his dot is not there. I can see Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg's dot is literally the one that's right there at the bottom of the mini-map, but Verstappen's dot is nowhere to be seen, so I've just about completely lost any chance probably of getting up to the top 5, and so much so, adding injury to what was already a bad situation, Vettel makes a second pit stop. So Vettel does do a 2-stop here today, unlike looks like the 2 Mercedes cars and the 2 Red Bulls are not doing a 2-stop, but Vettel tries it, and he's got so much pace in the tank that he made his second stop and already came out ahead of us, so he had an entire pit stop on us. And at the moment I try my best to stick with him here desperately. He'd just come out of the pit lane literally now on this lap, on lap 24, and you can just see visually every corner he was just gaining and gets away from us straight away on that lap. And so really, unfortunately for me, that was pretty much the end of my race. So I've got my fist in the air, kind of a little bit mad with Hulkenberg, because if it wasn't for Nico putting up such a big fight and defensive battle for the opening 6 laps, this could have been a different race. But you know what, that's just sometimes the way the cookie crumbles, as Lance Stroll goes out the Grand Prix in the last lap of the Grand Prix, quite embarrassingly. But it's going to be Lewis Hamilton to win the Monaco Grand Prix. It's something I don't think you're going to be personally seeing in the real life Grand Prix, but in the mod, Hamilton not too shabby around here, around Monaco. I think it's going to be Dan Ricciardo to lead out the podium then, and then Valtteri Bottas in 3rd place. But To be fair, I sound a little bit disappointed, but 6th place, to be fair to us, is not too bad. Not too bad considering where the car is, where my teammate was in this race. I'll take that, but it could have been a lot more, I think, if we had been set free earlier. But those 6 laps, you know, fair play to Hulkenberg. That's what Monaco's all about. If you've got a wide enough car, you know, you have all the right to defend your position around here. It's very hard to pass, and that's exactly what Hulkenberg did. But the full standings then, because we can't even look at the, I couldn't even look at the full race results in full. But this is how I think the entire top 10 rounded out then, with Hamilton 1st place, Ricciardo 2nd, Bottas in 3rd, Verstappen 4th, Sebastian Vettel in 5th place, myself in 6th. Hulkenberg does finish up in 7th. Grosjean finally gets back into the good points in 8th place. Pierre Gasly also finally does actually get into the points and beat his teammate for the first time this season. So the Frenchman will be happy with that. And then, as I said, my teammate finally rounds out the top 10 and gets one small point for us as a team. But like I kind of mentioned at the end of last episode, it's going to be tricky. I thought it would be tricky to keep the Red Bulls behind, and finally they've got back on their stride, almost like the real life season. Just took them a couple of races to hit their stride, and so they're comfortably now going to be ahead of us as we go now towards the Drivers' Championship. There, Sebastian Vettel still leads the way by a decent lead. So Lewis Hamilton now has finally got back ahead of his Finn teammate Valtteri Bottas. Daniel Ricciardo managed to finally jump me, so we're now in a Red Bull sandwich of our own in between Ricciardo and Verstappen there, with the kind of bottom of the top 11, the kind of same Grosjean, Van Dorn, Magnussen and Sergio Perez. And then we move on to the constructors. Like I mentioned, it was only inevitable that Red Bull will start to kind of pull away from us, and they're finally the 3rd team to pull into the 100 points mark. But interestingly enough, Mercedes actually pull ahead of Ferrari by 4 points. So Ferrari were looking very, very comfortable in this mod career series so far in the first few episodes, but consistency's paid out finally for the Mercedes guys. And also finally, Renault have actually got their act together, scored a few points there with Hulkenberg to get back ahead of Toro Rosso in 7th place. And I would imagine they'd be, you know, pretty fast probably from next episode on the heels of Force India, with only 5 points between them, 16 to 11. Really a case of some bad luck for Renault so far in this career mode season. But guys, if you have enjoyed that episode here at the Monaco Grand Prix, be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I've been Amber. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.